As you're watching this video right now, I am on my way up to Jacksonville for the RE Bar Camp Jacksonville, one of the largest, if not the largest and highest attended bar camp in the country for real estate. But I had to think, why am I taking my time, energy to go up to an event like a bar camp? And then I thought about it was because that I'm always on the hunt and I always have a desire to grow. So before I left, I was thinking, well, what can we do for Neal at noon that really embodies what I'm thinking today and how I feel? So we are going to my man, John Maxwell, How Successful People Grow. And if we are honest with ourselves, I believe that every one of us wants to be successful. Now, we don't know how necessarily we're going to achieve that goal, but we know that we have a desire for success, for significance, for importance, and for winning. So we're going to look at today, we're just going to look at some gaps, some growth gaps that might keep us from where we want to go. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk about and share how we can actually improve and overcome those gaps. So there are 8 growth gaps or myths or beliefs when it comes to growth. And the first one is the assumption gap. This means, well, let me tell you first, the assumption gap is that you assume that you will automatically grow, that you will get better just with time. And this comes from us being human beings and being children. Now, when you wake up as a child, when you go through your childhood years, you grow automatically with no effort on your part. As long as you're eating a semi-nutritious diet and doing the minimal activities that you can, you're going to grow, right? And we take into adulthood some of the things that happen in our childhood. So we believe as human beings, as a species, our first thought is, well, I've grown physically naturally, right? I've grown physically without any intentionality to it. We assume that it's going to be the same mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and that is not the case. So we have to be intentional about growing to overcome the assumption gap. The next one is the knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. Now, many times we will say, I don't know how to do it. Therefore, we learn through the school of hard knocks. Now, I'm sure you've learned some lessons through the school of hard knocks, as I have. However, if that's the way you're going to become dependent upon growing and learning, the lessons are going to be few and far in between, and they're going to be difficult lessons. So just because you don't know how to grow does not mean that you should put your idea and the plan to grow off to the back burner. The timing gap. Now is not the right time to grow. I'm going to share with you, as anyone who is on a growth track right now or journey or has a growth mindset, the only time to begin growing is a time that you have, and that is right now. If you don't start now, then when will you start? Don't be a procrastinator when it comes to growth. You want to make sure that you make up in your mind that today is a day I'm going to start growing. The mistake gap. I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to tell you, stop being afraid that you're going to make a mistake, because you are. And that is a part of life. You don't know how to overcome things. You don't know how to do it perfectly. So mistakes are another way of learning, another way to get things done. Or as they say, I believe it was, who invented the light bulb? Thomas Edison? Did Thomas Edison invent the light bulb, love? Well, we believe so. Maybe we're wrong, but I believe it was Edison, and he said, I did not fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways that it didn't work, right? Or I just moved 10, something like that. Well, anyway, whew, That's exhausting. So just because you make a mistake, that is not going to keep you from growing. So don't think that you have to be perfect in order to move forward, which leads us into the perfection gap. I have to find the best way before I start. Now, this might be considered paralysis by analysis, and you just always second guess. I call it the double Dutch effect, making sure, always thinking about jumping into something before you get started. But growth cannot be wait, or you can't wait to grow until everything is perfect. If that was the case, I would never get on camera as I am right now. I would never share or speak with a crowd. I would never talk to a client, because as you just witnessed, if I was waiting to be perfect or have the best route and not know who invented the light bulb and did it wrong 10,000 times, then I would never have started Neal at Noon, and you wouldn't be watching this right now. The inspiration gap. I don't feel like doing it. Now, for the parents who are watching this, if your kids, or when your kids say, I don't feel like doing it, what do you say? Do it anyway. I don't care how you feel, especially when you know that it is something beneficial for them. Now, as a student who's been blessed to be exposed to the personal development realm and to the idea of continuous growth, I can tell you, just like John Maxwell does in the book, it is harder to get started growing than it is to continue growing. The difficult part is in getting started. So if you are not motivated, if you're not inspired to grow right now, it gets easier, because once you build that momentum and you say, all right, I'm committed, I'm growing, then you'll see the results that are coming from it. You'll start reaping the rewards of those seeds that we planted, as we talked about with the healthy diet and what you're feeding your mind with. Then you'll say, okay, now that I'm in, I want to stay in, and you'll want to share with others. But I'm going to tell you, it is worth your time to get started and be intentional on your growth track. The comparison gap. Others are better than I am. Well, we hope so, especially when it comes to who you want to be learning from, what environment you're going to be in to grow. So that's why right now I'm on my way to Jacksonville, because there are times, even today, when I know I am probably the least qualified person in the room. Now, old Neal would be self-conscious, and I would shrink back and say, okay, I have no reason to be here. I don't deserve to be in this environment. The Neal that you're looking at right now, I love being the dumbest person or the brokest person in the room. I love being the one with the least amount of experience, because when I look around, what I know is that the great people, truly great individuals, those who have come along the journey, further along, more times than not, they are willing to share everything they have, the lessons that they've learned, because they understand the law of the harvest. If they plant more seeds out into the universe, more better, bigger crops are going to come back. So it's okay if you feel like that others are further along than you. Don't take that as an excuse. Use that as motivation and say, yes, I'm in the right place. I'm doing the right things. I'm with the right people. And then the last gap number 8, is the expectation gap. I thought it would be easier than this. Let me tell you, growth is difficult. When we were younger, these things called growing pains, when your bones would actually be growing. Now, I'm going to tell you that growing pains are real, and it is not going to be easy. Anything that is worthwhile is going to require work. It's going to be difficult to stretch and grow your mind and put yourself in situations where you want to be better, to put yourself around individuals who in yourself you might be uncomfortable, but you know that you need to improve. So it's not going to be easy. Let's just set that expectation up front. One of the best things you can do for yourself today on January 9th, 2020 is say, you know what, this is going to be difficult, but I want to reap the rewards. And once you do that, you will have understood and you'll buy into the idea of being intentional about your growth. So those are the 8 gaps when it comes to the growing intentionally. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how we can overcome those gaps. I love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, but most importantly, share this video on all social media platforms. Send it an email to someone that you think would benefit from it. And until tomorrow, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace.